What if one day, the same client who once died, walked into your cafe again and sat right in front of you? And what if the voice you heard next was not from his lips, but from your own heart? Tonight, a forgotten love speaks again. A voice that crosses the line between life and death, and reveals a truth that will change everything you believe. The rain tapped softly against the roof of a small cafe on the edge of town. The scent of coffee mingled with the damp, earthy smell rising from the ground. Mira, the barista, arranged the tables with quiet care and smiled at the first customer of the day. A man in a gray shirt sat in the corner. He said nothing, but there was something strange in his eyes. Too still, too deep. Mira walked closer, her voice gentle. Would you like the usual coffee? The man nodded slowly, but not a sound came from his lips. A faint unease stirred in her chest. Her heartbeat quickened, because this man, this very customer, had disappeared months ago. And the rumors said, he had died in a car accident. Raindrops slid down the glass window. The cafe felt frozen in time. Mira placed the steaming cup before him. The mist rose softly, yet the chair across from her felt cold, unnaturally cold. The man looked up. His lips began to move, forming silent words. No sound escaped, until, at last, his lips trembled, forming words that struggled to cross the thin air. When the sound came, it was not a human voice. It was faint, hollow, like an echo traveling from a deep well. Mira, her name fell into the silence of the cafe. And it felt as though the air itself had stopped breathing. She stepped back, her hands trembled, the cup rattled on the saucer, spilling dark drops onto the table. Mira, the voice came again, softer. But this time, filled with sorrow that pressed against her chest. Her throat tightened. I thought you were gone, she whispered. No answer came, only the smell of rain and the faint sound of wind moving through the half-open door. He looked at her, eyes shining like misted glass. I did not come to drink coffee, he said. I came because you did not listen, when my heart called. The lights above flickered once. Then twice. A chill spread through the room. The clock on the wall ticked slower, each second stretching like a drop of water about to fall. Mira tried to move, but her feet felt heavy, as if the ground beneath her had turned to stone. What do you mean? She whispered. The man smiled gently, the same smile she remembered from their last day together. The day they argued, and he drove away into the rain. Her eyes filled with tears. She could still hear the sound of thunder that night, the screech of tires, the silence that followed. I wanted to tell you, she said, her voice breaking. I am sorry, I should have stopped you. He shook his head slowly. Words do not reach the dead, Mira. But hearts do. The rain outside grew louder, slashing against the windows. Lightning flashed. For a moment, his face looked pale, almost transparent. Through his chest, she saw the faint shimmer of light. A soft, pulsing glow, like a heartbeat made of smoke. Mira gasped. Her knees weakened. She wanted to run, but the sorrow in his eyes held her there. He leaned forward. The heart remembers what the voice forgets, he murmured. When I left, you shouted in anger. But beneath your words, your heart called my name. Her tears fell freely now. I did not mean it, she cried. I was scared to lose you, and I lost you anyway. He reached across the table. His hand hovered above hers. Not touching, but she felt a faint warmth, as if sunlight passed through cold glass. Mira, he said, you must stop waiting for me in the sound of the rain. Let the silence go. She shook her head. I hear you every night, she said. In my dreams, in the wind, in the sound of the cups when I open this cafe. I hear you calling. He smiled again, softer this time. That is not me, that is your heart trying to heal. Thunder rumbled in the distance. The power flickered again. For an instant, the world seemed to blur. The rain, the walls, the man, all blending into a swirl of shadow and light. When she blinked, he was gone. The chair across from her stood empty. The cup was still there, but the coffee had turned cold. She placed her trembling hand on the table. The wood was warm, as if someone had just been sitting there. Her heartbeat pounded in her ears. She whispered into the empty air. Please, don't go again. Then, from the radio on the counter, a static hiss broke through, and a soft male voice began to speak. It was him. Mira, the voice said. I have always been here. Every beat of your heart is my voice. She froze. Tears blurred her vision. The sound filled the cafe, wrapping around her like invisible arms. Live, the voice whispered. Live for both of us. Then silence. Only the rain remained, falling endlessly, washing the world clean. Mira stood for a long time, The cafe seemed brighter somehow. She looked at the chair, and though it was empty, she smiled. Outside, the clouds began to break. A ray of sunlight slipped through, touching the wet street, and for a brief, impossible moment, she saw him standing there, in the reflection of the window, smiling, peaceful, and free. The bell above the door chimed gently. Another customer entered. Mira wiped her eyes, straightened her apron, and whispered under her breath, "Welcome," but in her heart, she still heard his voice. Soft, distant, eternal. The cafe slowly emptied as the sun began to set behind the wet glass. Golden light touched every corner, and the sound of rain faded into a quiet hum. Mira stood by the counter, holding the cup that once sat before the man who returned from silence. Her reflection in the window looked calm now. Not lost, not broken, but alive. She breathed deeply, the scent of coffee and rain still clinging to the air. For the first time in months, her chest did not ache when she thought of him. The memory of his voice lingered, but it no longer haunted her. It comforted her. It was not the sound of loss anymore, but the echo of love that had found its peace. She walked to the door, opened it, and felt the soft wind brush against her face. The clouds had parted, the sky stretched wide, pale, and clear, and high above, a single bird crossed the fading light. Mira closed her eyes. She could almost hear him whisper again. Not from the walls, not from the radio, but from deep within her heart. Live, Mira, every heartbeat is a memory of love. A small smile touched her lips. She locked the cafe, turned the sign to closed, and walked into the quiet street where the rain had just washed everything clean. Every puddle shimmered like silver under the setting sun. Every reflection seemed alive, breathing, glowing. The world no longer looked empty. It looked full of stories, of voices that never truly disappear. And as she walked away, the faint sound of a heartbeat echoed in the distance. Steady, calm, as if the world itself had begun to breathe again. The client's voice, the voice of her heart, had finally become one.